I was so fed up burning fossil fuels to heat up a building just to be comfortable in it, and I was also fed up spending lots of money for this, especially as I knew there was a solution. I saw it day by day in my work. My husband thought I was crazy when 16 years ago I wanted to buy a very rundown old building and wanted to transform it in an energy efficiency dream house. It was experimental, challenging, and had a steep learning curve. But the results made sense for the climate and for our wallet. Many years ago, a couple summed it up perfectly for me. They had just moved into their freshly renovated house, and the husband was going on for several minutes about all the savings they did, all the emissions they saved, and how much energy the house was producing. And he showed me even some graphs in Excel. Fantastic. And then after he went on for a while, his wife simply said, "Well, for me, I just love living in the house. I love having fresh air all the time. I love that it is as comfortable as warm and never too warm. And I simply enjoy living in the house." So what exactly did we do to this building and why? What didn't go to plan and what would we do differently today? And of course, finally, what were our main takeaways? Our starting point was a pretty rundown house which needed urgent updating for all its parts. And to be honest, that was a good case to start with. Not without risks, but also with a huge potential. We wanted this building to become as energy efficient as possible. And we were willing to do some experiments with it. So let me explain the concept of our house by jumping back a few weeks into midwinter, when it would be the most natural thing to leave the house just wearing the clothes as we were inside. And then I would start freezing, and I would have to move a lot, and I would have to eat a lot to make up for the energy I'm burning. Sounds logic, doesn't it? But what would be the better idea? Of course, if I was sensible, I would put on a hat, I would put on a coat, I would even wear some warm shoes, and then I could be outside, feeling warm and comfortable, and be more passive. And this is exactly what our house does. We needed to concentrate on the budget solutions while still saving as much energy as possible. So what were those most affordable but efficient measures that we chose? As the house wasn't big enough for living plus office space, we decided to extend it to the side where a small shed was attached before. We wanted to build the extension to the highest energy efficiency standard that was around at that time, which was the passive house standard. We decided for a highly insulated wooden framework, great prefabricated craftsmanship of a local carpenter. Large windows to the south and the west bring in lots of sunlight to heat the house in the colder seasons. The existing building also got an update with a coat, hat and boots, which means insulation for walls, roof and even the cellar ceiling. This was a bit experimental as none of the builders ever applied such thick insulation before. As for the windows, we enlarged the existing ones and added some new windows to the south to trap as much sunlight for the winter as possible. All those windows are passive house windows to keep the temperature steady inside. With so many windows, the sun heats up the house very well. And of course, for hot summer days, we have to make sure that this doesn't happen. And as we know that we feel cooler when we go into the shade, we also use that for our house. Together with our carpenter, we designed simple shutters that could be closed and opened as needed. This keeps the house cool in summer and doesn't break the bank. For the heating system, there was not much money left. So again, we concentrated on the things that would last longest and would have the highest effect. For example, we installed underfloor heating everywhere where it was possible, and we even installed some wall heating system, which was a bit experimental but made a lot of sense. This way we could keep the heating temperatures quite low. Every degree in higher heating temperature uses up a lot more energy. For the old building, we still needed to add a few radiators, but that was only for a very small part. We also then added a solar hot water heater and then a tiny gas boiler for any resulting heat demand. The whole building is very airtight, so we needed to add a few decentralized ventilation systems with heat recovery, which is really cool because now in winter time we can leave our windows closed and still have fresh air inside, and this fresh air is even getting preheated. Now let's look at the fails and successes during the project. What didn't go to plan during the building phase? I planned for a fantastic heated bench in the bathroom. Well, the problem is, the house is so well insulated that this heating system basically never runs and it never heats up to a temperature that is really comfortable to sit on. What would I do differently? I would probably use different insulation materials now. I would go for more natural materials, especially as these are now much cheaper than they were back then. We still went for some of the natural materials like wooden fiber insulation, but now I would go one step further and really try to have as much natural insulation as possible. Is it the big problem for me that we used it that time? Not really, because it's saving so much energy. It makes up for the production process since a long time already. Secondly, I would definitely opt for a heat pump with the central ventilation system now. Back then it was simply too expensive, we couldn't afford it, so we went for the more standard solutions. The third thing, which I didn't include in the first planning, was a photovoltaic system. We now got that installed a few months ago, and in theory now the house should be even net positive energy contributor over the course of the year, and I will keep you updated on how that goes. So what would I recommend for similar projects? It was good that we set our main focus on optimizing the building fabrics first, which means optimizing the walls, windows, roofs and floors. By making these as energy efficient as possible, it did not matter too much how we produced the little energy we still needed for the house. Also, these building parts will not be updated for a very long time. I'm very happy that we went to the maximum which we could afford at that time, even if it was sometimes a bit experimental, but it is now saving energy for all the years that went by and for a lot of years still to come. Then the building was in the perfect state for our endeavor. It was totally run down and needed updating for all parts, so it was cheap to buy and we had to do a lot anyway. Concentrating on the most efficient but at the same time most affordable solutions made the house a financial success. The day it was finished, it was worth quite a lot more than we overall invested in it. Talking about financials, this project did not only make sense because of the increased value, it also makes sense every year once we get our heating bill, because we pay only a fraction of what people are paying around us. And usually people are not believing how little we pay. Like for the couple I cited at the beginning, this house makes sense for all its numbers. It saves energies, it saves emissions, it now even harvests its own energy. But it's also a great home to live in. And isn't this what buildings should be about? I mean, any building? Most of the measures and strategies that we used for this home are also applicable for non-residential buildings like offices or school buildings. There's a huge potential to save energy and emissions. Anytime if there is a need for renovation in a building, it makes totally sense to include energy efficiency into the considerations about it. Oftentimes the energy efficiency in the long term saves a lot of money, and in any case it saves a lot of emissions. There are many ways, easy and not so easy ones, to save energy in buildings, and if you want to know more about that, please watch this video.